call this regular meeting of the Park Board of Commissioners for Wednesday, February 1st, 2023, in the Government Center City Council hearing room to order. Open meeting law. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Roll call of commissioners.
Victor Farias.
Helen Rigo.
Joseph De Silva. Acceptance of minutes from the regular monthly board meeting, November 2nd, 2022, January 4th, 2023, and the public hearing informational meeting, Land and Water Conservation Grant, Lafayette Park, Eastern Avenue.
Motion to accept.
Second it.
Motion to accept by Commissioner Rigo, seconded by Commissioner Farias. All in favor, say aye.
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 Citizen input. We just had two people sign up. No. Okay. I have Chandler Hearn
Yep.
and
Katrina.
Katrina.
Sorry.
Just state your name and address for the record.
Chandler Hearn and Katrina Myers,
You can have a seat.
505 Bay Street, Fall River. We're coming in here to, it's been a little while since we saw you. We have since received a grant from the Mass Cultural, Local Cultural Council for monies to do that mural. We spoke about the Olmsted mural. We've been in touch with the National Association of Parks and the Olmsted, basically olmsted.org and the whole Olmsted folks, and talked to them about it. They're excited, and we wanted to check in with you guys. I know this is just a quick input. Let you know that hopefully we can get some time for next month, show you some ideas that we have, and any input that you guys have that you'd like to see involved. We've been going to the Historical Society, trying to find like nuggets of things that happened with Olmsted in his time, creating the parks here, and hopefully come up with a really unique visual and educational image that everyone would like.
And the plan was before, we wanted to place it on the street-facing wall of the Kennedy Park Maintenance Building, which, as you guys know, is one of Olmsted's parks, and Fall River's centerpiece park, the jewel of Fall River. So we'd like to put it there if we could. We realized the maintenance building was recently painted. However, we're trying to think of it as it was recently primed for a beautiful Olmsted mural that will only accentuate the building further and make it
That's what I was
a
thinking
more
myself.
special
but
park.
How do you feel, Mr.? Nancy?
I would like to get
Yep.
Smith's opinion on that.
Yep.
What I had said to Katrina when she called was she was gonna send this information. We would speak with the administration, since that was something that they had participated in to get that building painted. And it would have to be a collaboration anyway with the administration and this board. So I advised them to come back to the next meeting. They will provide me with photos and kind of
Mock-ups and different
mock-ups of
ideas.
what they would want to put on that. And I said, in the meantime, in this month, in between the two meetings, we would meet with the administration and see how they felt about it. And then we would be able to communicate with them. Either I would be able to communicate with them, and then they could come back to this board next month. The board can't communicate as a whole, but I would be able to communicate with them.
Okay. Any commissioners have any? I like the idea, and I know I've always said that I like that idea, that I wanted something like that, just someone can come up with the idea. I think it's a brilliant idea, is because what better way to have a homestead on that park is because you ask most kids in that, they probably don't even know who Olmsted is.
Mm-hmm.
So at least if you have the architect there, they can see history
Yeah,
now in the 21st century, who created these parks.
definitely. Great.
Gives people a spirit of place, and it's great that that can be in Fall River.
Good.
Well, thank you,
Thank you
guys.
for taking up on this initiative.
Thank you.
Yes.
See you guys next month.
Thanks. citizen input? Any other citizen input? Okay. All right. So item A, they're not here yet, right? Okay. So do I have permission to skip item A for now, and we'll get back to it?
Yeah, we'll take item A out of order.
Yep. And go to item B.
Go to item B.
Oh, item A, Commissioner Ferris made that motion, seconded by Commissioner Rigo.
Rigo.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item B, Bobby Bailey to address the board, the use of city fields for diamond vocational sports programs due to the upcoming school construction. I just received a call from Mr. Bailey and that, so what we can do is discuss this to place on file to a future meeting for him, but he's not going to be attending tonight. So if you guys want to just place this on file for now.
I'll make a motion to place this on file until the next,
Or a future meeting for him.
Future
Now, I'll
meeting.
second that.
Okay, Commissioner Rigo made that, Commissioner Farias made that motion, seconded by Commissioner Rigo. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item C, request for a 3-on-3 basketball tournament at Kennedy Park on Middle Street by Stay Biz on June 10th, 2023. Is anybody here for that? Come on up. Just introduce yourself for the record and what you're here for.
My name is Gregory Molinar. I'm with Stay Busy, and we are looking to use Kennedy Park on June 10th in the morning hours to put on a 3-on-3 basketball tournament.
All right. You guys, we have a packet here. I think it's item C. So I know you're having a bunch of different things around the city.
Yes.
What they're looking is to do is just a 3-on-3 tournament at Kennedy Park.
so, we have anything on those dates yet?
We have not asked for the groups to submit yet, but as far as right now, no, there's nothing on the 10th. I believe the Juneteenth event is the week after that. But right now, we don't have anything scheduled.
I'll make a
How
motion.
soon do you- how soon
Before
do
you
you need
make
to
any motions,
know
we have to
the
talk
date?
about some other stuff.
Like, how soon would I need a yes or no?
Yes,
A month or so, probably?
yes, because what we have going is, this month, at the end of this meeting, the last item on this agenda is for them to send out their notification to the various leagues, so we can find out what's going on and what exactly they have coming up, so we don't look. They
Okay.
can tentatively maybe approve this, but
Okay.
final approval probably wouldn't be able to come to you till March 1st,
Okay.
if that's enough of time.
Yes.
I mean, it seems like it's just the use of those basketball courts and the immediate area from what I read, is
Yes.
that correct?
That is.
Okay, and then,
No, it also says live DJ and everything, and tables
right,
will be
so
set up
this is
for the
what I was
sponsor.
gonna say, he's gonna be subject to the
Yep.
park fee with are you serving food?
No.
No.
Okay, so you would just have to get like the electrical stuff inspected, anything that you were bringing in.
Okay.
So what we call that is the civic events form.
Okay.
I would forward you that civic events form, the police sign it, you know, that they know that event's taking place there, and it's a formality, and I would imagine it would be subject to the park fee.
Yep. And then I know last year when we had an event down there, the building inspector has to sign off on that also. And he's
Okay.
gonna inform you with the DJs that any generators all have to be hardwired to the ground and that. So they're gonna have to, he'll instruct that. Are you having any stages or anything?
No.
Because if you're gonna have stages, you're gonna have to work with him about that.
Yeah, no stages.
And your film crew, you have a film crew here, this is something that is just people that you know.
Right.
It's not a professional.
No, well, they're professional, but they're like part of
Okay,
the
so-
overall.
So based on this, just so that you know what you would need, the park fee is $125 for the day.
Okay.
And you need to have a liability insurance policy that
Okay,
covers your.
absolutely.
After that, it would be just signatory sign-offs from the various departments that may be involved.
Okay.
If, like I said, the board can tentatively approve this, and give you a final approval by March.
Okay, that'd be great.
I don't think there's gonna be anything that conflicts with this, and it should be something that you've put in for it, so you would have that access. But that's something, with the board not sending the letter out for accepting requests, it's a little bit premature for us to say yes 100%.
Understood.
Until we know exactly what's going on. But I would hope that by the next meeting, this board would be able to give you a yay or a nay, and I don't see, we have events like this all the time, so I don't see an issue unless the board has some other opinion.
I think it's a good idea. Any commissioners?
Make a motion to,
So, do we wanna,
I guess what I would do is, you can table it, or you can tentatively approve it. Those are your two options.
tentatively approve and then until we call them back in?
And a final approval will come at the next board meeting. So you can vote to tentatively approve, so that you see what other dates and functions are coming in, and then he'll know that if there's no other event, final approval can be given. And you can do that in the same motion right now,
Mhm.
so that you don't have to meet again, but March 1st is your next meeting, so I'm not gonna be able to give you an answer before then anyway, so that should work out.
Okay, so did I get that motion?
I got a motion to approve it tentatively.
Tentatively to March 1st meeting,
Yep.
next meeting. All right, seconded by Commissioner Farias. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Item D, request for a Juneteenth event at Kennedy Park, Broadway, to take place on Saturday, November 17th, 2023. Is anybody here for that? So, this is an annual event. She's been doing it the last 2 years. The only note I have is, I know it was addressed, but the reason why we ask for liability, commissioners, is because if something happens at the parks, and I know last year, it was the park foreman that noticed it and brought it to Mrs. Smith's attention, that the production company, that the sound guy that was doing this event for her, ended up backing into one of our Brandon Park benches, destroyed it, and then they left the park and think we weren't gonna find this, and then that's why the liability's here. So we ended up making them replace that park bench last year with this event, so. Do I have a motion to approve this?
Again,
Oh,
again,
go ahead.
I would tentatively approve to your letter goes out, except
All right.
for requests to come in. These are a little bit premature,
Okay.
ahead of the game,
All
so.
right.
And then she can get her answer as well on March 1st.
Okay. Do I have that
Yeah, I'll
motion?
make that a motion.
Second.
Okay, let's, Commissioner Farris made that motion to tentatively agree to March 1st to approve this until we have our information back from all the leagues and everything of the use of parks. Seconded by Commissioner Regal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item E, a request from the Mobile Adventures to come into various park properties to conduct events. Is anybody here for that?
No, I spoke with this lady, from this organization. She is going to submit a more, explicit request. What it is it's similar to the Bookmobile, remember the Bookmobile? Only they have their adventures, then they come out and do these park adventures. And I did, and I don't know if this is how she's going to proceed, I did put her in touch with Grace Girling so that she can possibly piggyback her events. So it won't just be a few kids scattered, it would be a major event that she would be able to get a little bit more exposure. So she is going to contact me, and we will again entertain a future. So if you want to just place on file, she'll be sending in an additional request.
All right. Item E, do I have a motion to place this on file?
Make a motion, please, on file.
Commissioner
second
Farris
it.
Commissioner Farias made that motion, seconded by Commissioner Rego. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item F, request from the Marine Corps League to conduct an event in observance of Iwo Jima Day at Veterans Memorial Bicentennial Park, Duval Street, on Sunday, February 19th at 10 a.m. This is an annual event, correct?
Make a motion to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Rego, seconded
Second.
by Commissioner Farias. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item G, board to send out letters to leagues requirements to request field and event permits for 2023 season. Do we have a
Make a motion to approve.
motion to approve that letter?
Second that.
Commissioner Rego made that motion, seconded by Commissioner Farias. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, we're gonna go back to item A. Do I have that motion?
Yes. Yep,
Make a motion to go back to the item 8.
and I'll second that.
Commissioner Farias made that motion, seconded by Commissioner Rego. All in favor, say aye.
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 Item A, master plan consultant to address the board. Initial plans for Oak Grove Cemetery, Prospect Street, feasibility study and improvements.
So,
Mr. Pirano?
by means of introduction, this is Casey Lee. He's with the BSC Group. They've been hired as our consultants to help us with the master plan that was brought to this committee quite a while ago, I think, at this point. So the idea is to have BSC Group go through the cemetery, help us identify future burial space. So as the board is aware, we've recently or just about completed a major expansion that'll give us burial space for hopefully 20 years, but we don't want to wait to use up all that space before we decide what the next steps are for Oak Grove Cemetery. So it was important to get this started because it'll help us lay out the roadmap for where future burial space will be, give us an idea of what the budget would look like to do some of these projects, and then attack them in smaller chunks so it's more cost efficient and effective for us. The other elements of the plan include general maintenance, so going through the cemetery kind of with a fine-tooth comb, identifying maintenance needs, prioritizing those, and help us identify ways that we can become more efficient in our day-to-day operations. The other thing I'd like to note is we've asked BSC to do this project because they are experts, if you will, in cemetery design, including in historic cemeteries. So the overarching goal is to respect the history of the cemetery, understand, its initial development and how Oak Grove has kind of adapted through the years to the different cemetery trends, and how we can, in the master plan, look to bookend those different development timeframes in a respectful manner to the original design. So I'll turn it over to Casey Lee and he can go over.
Thank you, Chris. Okay. Right now, for the past couple months, my design team have been working through analysis of the different data layers associated with your park, utilities, roadway materials, the grave counts, grave types, as well as doing an extensive field analysis. So we've had people on the ground assessing materials, surfaces, conditions, your arboretum of trees, and from that we've developed a set of layers and a set of guides on that will go from here are the things you have and looking towards the things that you need. Right now we're coming to you with the analysis layer of that, and you some of the information and a whole lot of the questions. So this first meeting is for us to reach out to you with a set of questions about how you want us to communicate in the next meeting, which will focus largely on design, with an outreach forum public walks and discussions in the cemetery, and some design charrettes. To help with that, and because it's a lot more material, I think, than you can take in one evening.
So, Ms. Smith, you're gonna make this part of the record, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we'll submit digital copies of materials as well for you tomorrow. But this works through. Don't need those. And I'm not sure how much and to what degree or in what orientation we should present. Shall I sort of swing these to you or pick a side and I think point and
Camera's
wave?
there.
All right, put it over there.
Yeah.
You can do it this way, there's a camera there.
Oh, yeah. You're
I
right
would
there.
think if you want to
Okay,
use.
I'll use
right?
that chair.
Yeah.
It looks like there's.
We can hold it.
Albert, can you see that? Albert, can you see that?
Yep.
And understand there's a whole lot of information here. You've got 120 acres. So this is broken up into layers. And right now it's on paper all sort of grouped together so that we can organize it and show you what it is we've accumulated. What you'll be receiving in the next round with public outreach is an online form where anyone who's interested will be able to turn pieces of this on and off and compare things so they can look at a specific chunk or a specific idea within the cemetery. First layers, roadway conditions. So this is assessing the pavements, as well as utilities, drainage issues, damages, encroachments based on some of the older curbs and pieces.
That point.
Thank you. Second, we have for you a combination of soils assessments, topographic analysis, including sort of thresholds of level areas versus slopes, to help us make decisions about what spaces are best for graves, what orientation they should be, and where you can cut or fill to make the transitions for some of these. By and large, and you'll see sort of in that yellows and the reds with the steeper portions, and that all of your roadways have this recess. That's going to come as a huge benefit to you later on because it allows us to offset a pair of roads, choose the ones that are in disrepair, swap the soils with new graves to allow for that. So it's a development benefit. It's a drainage problem that we can solve in this way. Your soils report, but sadly, this lists as largely an urban soil. So the soil maps don't give us all of the detail we want, specifically down in the two undeveloped wooded areas. Now, chances are the reason those areas are the last to be developed, and from some of the things we see on the ground, that there are issues of ledge and a whole lot of irregularity. There'll be some drainage things to solve, but we've got a plan for that. We're also looking at those as the last piece of green space that's truly forested, and in the city, a little piece of forest can be very valuable. So we've got some ideas in the packets on ways you might be able to benefit from something that would normally be a problem. Then looking into access points, routes of circulation. This combines both what are the primary ways for people to move through the cemetery. So this breaks it down into 3 layers, the green being primary access routes. These are absolutely necessary that these stay open. These also tend to cross with spaces that have utilities in them. So so they're not places that can switch over to graves. The red, secondary paths of travel, these are necessary so that you've got the on-road parking for cemetery interment events and funerals. But the last, the blue roads, these are tertiary roads. These are spaces where they are short enough and have enough critical mass of road around them for the parking that you could convert these over to new grave spaces. It gives you a chance to bring in more trees or tree-related graves, offset your space through time, but without losing the functionality or the aesthetics of the cemetery. In fact, it gives us some opportunities to take things back towards the more historic cemetery feel in converting those tertiary ways. With that, combining both your road conditions, your tertiary ways, process, slope, the depths, and we can look at which are the best pieces for you to convert. So we've set that up and broken it out into multiple phases, so you can set these in modules similar to your newly developed space in a 15 to 20 year set, to give you cycles so that you are not doing projects that are so big that they're disruptive to the feeling, but not so small that you're constantly under construction. We also mapped out through the historic areas in the dark green and the pale dashes. You have a lot of turf grass ways and pathways. Some of these are level enough and wide enough that they could receive new graves. Others, we felt it's aesthetically and connectively important to retain them. So in the light gray, we've sort of mapped those out. Others have drainage issues or encroachments that could be modified slightly or are too narrow with some of the large trees, where cremation graves with flush markers might be a way to utilize that space to help bolster the feel, but also give people options in the historic area and maintain the function. Relative to that circulation, we've also looked at all of the signage and mapped out where all of these little paths and roads have names. Only some of them have signs saying where that is. So if you're looking for your family, it may be a matter of upgrading those signs. We may be also to tie into some of the online resources you already have and put out data markers or small numbers to help people orient and find where they are in the cemetery, because it can be a bit of a maze. It can also be expensive to sort of explore. At this size and this amount of green, it's a significant open space resource to you. Now, with that, we've quantified out what we thought the most likely graves were, and this is a full quantity. This is not an intentional design at this level. That'll come into the next meeting when we start to look at, here's everything you could possibly do. Now narrow it down to the things you really want to do, the things that are most cost effective, and the things that are most fulfilling to the community, the most useful to you. That includes what are the possibilities for redevelopment in the two wooded areas, and looking at their relationship between the more heavily wooded historic sections, done in curves, wider spacing, smaller groups of graves. The other bookend is that forested area, and between is sort of the open plains of dense mid-century graves. It was necessary at that time to sort of pack things in, but as we're slowing, and you'll find in the numbers, we sort of tracked not just this cemetery, but the cemeteries regionally to say where you are relative to what burial pressures may be. Sort of frame some of those numbers and make good decisions. But balancing historic and modern trends, there are push for greener burials, for more trees. So some of those things we'll be looking at in the next piece are, this gives space at a level that would be optional to retain the trees that are there and plant into them with green burial graves. Your pathways allow you the options for natural burial graves, which can open up options for people of different faiths, for, when there are reasons for quick burial and a natural burial, but it's not necessarily a conservation piece. You can balance those two, but that's one of those options that's going to go into many of the examples you find in the packet, and then will go into the online interface and the public meetings. Get people's feel about how much of that is right for your community culturally. This is one of those points where it becomes important that you're able to work in chunks of data, especially for Chris, who's going to have to manage these things. But this looks at the set from your Davy Tree inventory, and it's a great inventory, but it doesn't necessarily specify how to change things and make them work for you. So this combines in a lot of those red things that have problems or need to come out or be pruned more aggressively. And they're harder to read, but in green, spacing out in the graves that you have now that are in the lawn. It was very difficult to go in and have trees in between those because they were still in active burials. Now as we move away from that and these start to slow down, you end up with options in the margins between graves for tree burial graves. So you can have additional graves that support and fund a tree, but for people who are like, you know what, I would like a family tree, get 4 or 5 cremations into that. That's one of the ways you can do the arboretum, but you can simply plant them. This includes looking at spaces where views should be improved, looking at the big back of a building, or areas that are out into housing, spaces off, and what we might be able to do in and around the buffers that you have, where your nodes and potential gathering spaces could or should be relative to those new graves. So we sort of got everything on the table so that you can pair make those decisions. What else do I want to say with this before we move out? I think that's everything here. That's all of the sort of data layers to it, but if you take those up for a moment and we'll provide these in online format, you have a lot of questions in there that we want direction from you. A lot of examples from other cemeteries and projects of ours where we're moving things into some of those, and questions about how you might do your roadway infills, some examples of what those might look like and how they function. Looking at different forms of communal grave spaces and options that make those work, and where and how we should fit those into the landscape. Question is, do you want me to sort of walk for the community through those analysis questions, or is this something we should leave with the board to review and provide answers, and then we can post it to format for public in-reach and outreach, where we've got more people.
How do you guys feel? How do you feel? you want them to just leave this with us for now,
Yes.
to review, and then,
You can leave it with us, and then-
So the goal here is to, tonight, give an initial overview of the data we've collected. There is some feedback that we do need to gather from the board, some direction. And then from that point, doing the community engagement. So this will be a pretty thorough and not a very quick process. We want to get this right. We want to lay down the roadmap for, where the cemetery is going. So I think there's three main goals in completing this master plan. The first is making sure we have adequate burial space to accommodate future burials. The second is to respect the history of the cemetery. And the third is to make sure that we can maintain it. And that includes increasing our perpetual care funds. And the only way we're going to do that is by keeping Oak Grove Cemetery open. We've seen here locally what happens when cemeteries go inactive and how difficult they are to maintain. Other communities are facing the same problems, and we want to avoid that for as long as possible with Oak Grove, hopefully long after each of us are gone at that point, because I think there's a lot of opportunity here to keep Oak Grove open for generations.
so I had a couple of questions. So, knowing that we have 3 Homestead parks, is Oak Grove considered Homestead or no?
No.
All right, because I'm just saying, is like when we're like taking out roads to put in, I don't want to,
That is.
if we're gonna try to totally change the whole cemetery around now.
It's important to understand too that that's not a new concept and not one unique to us. So Oak Grove, everybody knows, or most people know, that it was designed after Mount Auburn and Forest Hills in Boston. Both of those cemeteries are doing these exact same things. If you walk through Forest Hills with their director, what they're doing is they're selling historic infill graves in the vacant spaces that were left in the historic parts of the cemetery. And they're doing them at, costs that we will never be able to sell our graves for. But that is how they're sustaining that cemetery, is by selling in these historic sections, because they're unique. You can't find this in the cemeteries in Fall River or many of the surrounding communities. So we have something unique to offer to families who are looking for something much different than what's out there.
The other question I had too is, when we said about the input, and that we're also gonna be reaching out to the Historical Commission and also Friends of Oak Grove.
Yes, the next step would be to have a public hearing. Both sit down with the community to solicit their feedback, but as Casey Lee also said, doing walks through the cemetery to show what we're thinking, but also get feedback from the community. This isn't a process where Casey Lee draws up the idea and we just run with it. This is the process we've gone through so far is the ground layer. Again, all of the data, all of the different options, and then kind of working with the community, working with this board to kind of identify what makes sense for the history of the cemetery, the culture of the city, and where we want to go as a group.
All right. So, you guys want to just take time to review this and have them come back to us?
With the digital package that you'll receive that comes along with this, there are also some digital files that tie this into. There is a website up in draft form that's not public yet, but it'll include a survey, and we'll look to you for some of the questions that come out of that, as well as meetings with the key stakeholders group from Historic and Friends of Oak Grove to fill that out and disseminate it, as well as draw their friends, family, neighbors into the events. And to make this less of a, maps are heavy for people who aren't spending a lot of time reading maps. Some Google Earth files that will bring you right into a photo inside the space where we can put some notes to it to make a tie between the feeling and the real thing.
So I think in your package there are specific questions that Casey Lee is looking to get answers on. Again, that could be done tonight. You can take it home, shoot us an email, and we can make that part of the public record as far as the master plan is concerned. So that way the community can see, at least the board's feedback before we move on to the next process. I think it's important that we have some sort of direction before we move forward with anything else.
Well, we definitely have to think of, we did the expansion, so that could last us 15 to 20 years. We definitely gotta come up with some kind of ideas for the next 50 years. That's the only city cemetery, so.
Right.
There ain't no other space anywhere else, so.
Yeah, there's only really, in our study, we found that it's all denominational.
Yeah.
So there are spaces available, and they should, by our projections, have space available at about the same rate for maybe 200 years, before they have to also make conversions in the type of burials they have. With yours, we can go a lot longer if you're willing to make some of those changes, and what burial means is changing now and has changed. When I started, cremation was a much smaller piece of the pie, and that's slowly growing. That gives you options that could carry for hundreds of years. We've certainly got, given the right type of development, 200 to 500 years worth of burial space available. It's a matter of tastefully layering it in.
Any other commissioners have any questions? Do you have any questions about veteran stuff or anything?
No.
Commissioner Rego, I know this is a big topic on you. How do you feel?
As long as they don't take the money from the, as long as they don't take the money from the graves. You know where I stand on that.
If you have
do.
a specific question, Chris, that you would like them to
Yeah.
answer tonight, I would have you address that specific question to get an answer, or else.
I don't, is there anything specific you need tonight?
I've put together a lot of questions in there, but I think there's something worth taking a look.
Yes, 'cause
Yeah,
they won't
sit
be
on
able to
it, look
answer
at
them.
it. And then give us a perspective from the board, so that we've got that to pair up with perspective from historic and from friends, and then we'll inform those questions when they come. Because we have staff ranging from the civil and structural engineers to some of our master landscape architects are from Mount Auburn. So if you walk the Asa Gray Gardens, that's us, but my focus actually is more the municipal end in how can I make this functional and affordable for communities who don't have those opportunities.
And we have two other commissioners that are not here tonight, so we have to get their opinions too, so. with them.
Great.
My suggestion to the board would be to look over those questions. Possibly, if you can't meet together, possibly meet individually with Chris to answer any of those questions, set up whatever kind of time is convenient for you. If you have any questions, so then Chris can refer the information back to the consultants. But I would
Chris,
assume that
you have
they-
everybody's numbers?
Yes.
I would assume that you want to start
Reach out to
within
each
the
one of
month
us.
so that you can
Yeah,
get
we want to keep this moving. We have a lot of momentum with the data gathering. The next steps are the feedback, and that's an important step, so,
Thank you.
thank you.
Do we have commissioners' inquiries? I just want a couple of things, because I've noticed a couple of people here today. I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Park Board and the citizen of Fall River. I see Mr. Mancini, Ms. Dennis, and Commissioner Farias, who serves on the CPC. I just seen your meeting the other night. Thank you so much for granting us the other extra $55,000 to get Maplewood lights done. Appreciate that. The kids are going to enjoy that. Thank you. All right. Helen, you have anything?
Nope.
Who? Amanda? From the Pops.
He was from the park department. Richie Lambert
Richie Lambert?
Cemetery.
Buildings, building facility.
No, building facilities.
But he was cemetery though.
You sure?
Before that, don't know what you're talking about. To have conversations like this.
We're just gonna have a moment of silence for Mr. Richard Lambert. I guess he was a city, former city employee. We just have a moment of silence for him. Thank you. I wanna wish everybody a happy, healthy new year. Does anybody else have anything else before the park board? No. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Rio made that motion, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Farias. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.